Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'll be going over how to make a full stack to-do list application using a Mongo database, Express, and React. So this is how it'll be. We can insert a to-do, let's say study for the test. And when we do this, this will be created in the Mongo database, and we can check it or uncheck it, and we can also delete it. So today we'll be making this. We need to make a React application using V and then an Express application. So first, to make the React application, we can do npm create v at latest. We're gonna call this the client. We're gonna select React and JavaScript. We're going to cd into the client and we're going to npm install. Now this might take a while, so I'll come back when it's done. Alright, once that's done, we can maximize this, and then we can cd out of the client, and we can make a new directory called server, and then we can cd into the server, and we can initialize this as a npm. So we can do npm init-y. We can open the server and we can create a new file in there called server.js. Put that in the server. Once you did this, we can install Express, Cores, NodeMon, and Mongoose. So we can do npm I express cores, NodeMon, and Mongoose. We're going to be using all of these libraries to connect to the front end and also connect to our Mongo database. Let's set up NodeMon. In the package.json, go over to test, and under that, add a dev colon, and then we'll do NodeMon server.js, or instead of server, this should be whatever your file that you put here is. So just save this. And now we can begin programming our server. So let's import everything that we need. So we'll do const express is equal to require express, and we'll do const mongoose is equal to require mongoose, and we'll do const cores is equal to require cores. Now we can do const app is equal to express. We'll do app.use express.json, and we'll do app.use cores. Let's actually make this cores all uppercase, and we'll change it here also. This is just so we can see it better. Now we can run our app, so we'll do app.listen on port 8080, and whenever we're running this, we'll just console.log saying server started on port 8080. Now we can save this, open up the terminal, and we can cd into the server and do npm run dev. Now once you've done this, you can close the terminal, because now we need to finish programming our server, and then after that we can program our React. So after you do this, we have to connect our Mongo database, so we'll do mongoose dot connect, and we're going to connect it on MongoDB colon / localhost colon 27017 / and then the name of the database. I'm gonna call this test because just for simplicity. After that, we can set up our schema. So we'll do const to do schema is equal to new mongoose dot schema, not schema type but schema, and then curly brackets. And here we're going to set up how our database is going to be like. So first we need a title, which is going to be a string. The title is going to be just what we call our to do, and then we're going to do is completed, and we're going to actually make this an object with the type being a boolean and the default value being false. So whenever the user first creates it to do, it'll be false or not completed. Now we can save this, and we can actually set up a new object for our database. So we'll do const to do is equal to mongoose dot model, and we'll call this to do, and we'll set the schema to be the schema that we put up here. Alright, now we can actually set up all of the routes, and in those routes, after we call them from our front end, we can return something or do something. We need to make a delete, create, complete, and a get all route. So first let's do the get all route. So we'll do app.get. We're gonna call this slash get all. This is gonna be an asynchronous function because we're working with a database and that needs to be asynchronous. So in here, whenever we call this route or fetch this route, we're gonna first get the to-dos, and then we're going to return a JSON of the to-dos. Now we can work on the complete, so we'll do app.post/complete, and this is also going to be an asynchronous function. And in here we're actually going to expect, since this is a post request, we're going to expect an ID from the front end. So we'll do const ID is equal to request.body. And what we're going to do is we're going to do const to do is equal to await to do dot find by ID, and we're going to pass in the ID that we get. And then we're going to do to do dot is underscore completed. It's going to be the opposite of what it currently is. And then we'll do await to do dot save. And then we're going to fetch all the to-dos again. So we'll do const to-dos is equal to await to do dot find. And then we're going to respond back with a JSON of all the to-dos. Now we can save this, and now we can work on the create. So we'll do app.post/create. This is gonna be an asynchronous database or a async function. And in here we're going to expect a title from the front end. So we'll do const to do is equal to request.body, and we'll do await to do dot create, where the title is going to be the to do that we get from the front end. We don't need to make a one for the is completed because we already made it a default of being false, so it'll just save it as false. And then we're going to fetch all the to-dos again. So we'll do const to-dos is equal to await to do dot find, and then we're going to respond with the JSON of all the to-dos. Now we can save this. And lastly, we need to make a delete to do. So we'll do app.post/delete. This is as well a asynchronous function. And in here, we're going to take the ID of the to do that we're going to delete. So this will be request.body. And then we'll do await to do dot find by ID and delete. And this will just be the ID. And then we'll fetch all the to dos again. To dos dot find. And then we're going to respond back with the to dos. Great. So now once you've done all this, we're actually done with the server, and now we can begin programming our front end. I went ahead and ran our React app, and now we can actually delete everything in app.jsx, and we can import React alongside with use state and use effect from React. And we can make our app function, so we can do function app, and in here we can just return a div, and below here we'll just do export default app. Nice. So now we can make our states. So if we'll make a state for when the user is typing up a new to do, so we'll do const to do set to do is equal to use state, and then we'll do const to dos with the s and set to dos is equal to use state, and this is just going to be blank. So this is for when the user is typing up the stuff, and this is for the actual to dos that are already in a database. Now when we have this, we can save it, and under here we can make a use effect which will fetch the to dos. Alright, so we can make the use effect. We'll set an empty dependency array, and in here in the use effect we'll make a function. So we'll make an async function called fetch to dos, And let's just call the function here. And in here what we'll do is we're going to fetch the backend. So we'll do const res is equal to await fetch, and let me just copy and paste the backend URL here. There we go, found it. And it'll actually be /get_all, because if you remember, in our server.js we actually set the route to be /getAll. Now once we have this, we can set the data. So we'll do const data is equal to await res.json, and we will set the to-dos to be data.todos. Great, we can save this. Now once we've done this, we've set up the use effect. Now we can set up all of the functions that we need. So we're gonna need one to create a to-do. So we'll do async function create to-do. We're gonna need one to delete. So async function delete to-do. And we need one to check it. So we can do async function check to-do. Right, so now once we've got this, we can actually start programming each one of these. The functions are actually going to be pretty similar, because in the backend is actually where we're doing most of the work. So in the front end, we're really just going to be calling them and then saving the data in our to-dos state. So for example, for create to-do, we can do const response is equal to await fetch, and we can actually fetch this right here, except we'll change the get all to create, and then we're going to pass some things in. First, the method is going to be post, and we need to put a headers in, which will be content type, which is application/JSON. And then after this, we can put a body tag, which we will put JSON.stringify, and then the to-do. Now the reason we put the to-do is because the to-do value here, the state, is actually what's gonna change whenever the user types in the title. So once we have the response, we can save it in data. So we'll do const data is equal to await res.json, and then after that we can do set to-do to be data. Now we can save this, and what we can do is we can actually copy and paste this whole thing into the delete to do and the check to do. But we're going to be changing some things around. For example, instead of create, this is going to be whatever we chose here, which is delete. So this will be this here will be /delete, and these are the same, except for body. We actually need to pass in to this function an event, and then the body is actually going to be the ID, and the ID is going to be e._id. Now we can copy and paste this into, actually no, it's fine. In the check to do, we need to pass in the event, and also the name of the route we're fetching is /create. So wait, not create, hold on, it is complete. So this is /complete, and instead of to do, we're passing in the ID, which is e._id. Now we can save this, and we can actually start beginning to code our HTML and the buttons which will call each of these functions. For the HTML, I'm going to program all the HTML, and then I'm going to go over and say what each thing does. While I was programming, I noticed a mistake in the delete here. Instead of this being to-dos, this is supposed to be just to-do. So just fix that. And now in the app.jsx, so basically what we're doing here is we're checking if the length of the to-dos is 0, then we're just gonna have some text that says no to-dos, make one now right here. Else we're going to go through every single to-do item in our state, and we're going to give it a ID, and then after that we're going to display the name, and then a button that's going to check if the key of the item is already completed. Then we're going to display this, else this, and then we have this button which just calls this function right here, delete to do, and we have some input which we can type up, and then we can have a button which just creates a to-do. So let's test this. So we can create a to-do. Let's say go to the gym, make to-do, and there we go. So once we go to the gym, we can just click this, and then we can add another one. Let's say cook some food. There we go. So now we can also delete these. So yeah, so this is just a full stack to-do list using MongoDB, Express, and React. If you enjoyed this or found it helpful, please subscribe and leave a like. Thanks for watching.